Puerto Rico is no longer a quiet outpost. It's the launch pad for America's military face-off with Venezuela. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth arrived unannounced as F-35s and warships flood the Caribbean, framing Puerto Rico as the US border against Maduro's alleged narco-state. In Caracas, 25,000 Venezuelan troops stand ready. What Washington calls counter-narcotics looks more like a march toward open conflict. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Air Force General Dan Caine, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, made an unannounced visit to Puerto Rico on September 8th as the US military ramps up what it calls counter-narcotics efforts in the Caribbean. Hegseth delivered a message from President Donald Trump to 300 soldiers at Mobilises National Guard base near San Juan, according to an emailed statement from Puerto Rico Governor Jenniffer González Colón. The US military is dispatching 10 Marine Corps F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico following an incident in which Venezuelan military jets flew over a US Navy vessel in international waters last week.
Now, the reason I like the name War Department so much is not because I love war. I don't, and neither do you. It's because I seek and love peace. And those who love and long for peace must prepare for war. We are in the strength department of peace through strength. Other folks will make sure that the diplomatic relations land right where they should, and our commander-in-chief is focused on that. He is a peace president, but he's asked me, he's asked General Caine, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who's with us here today as well, to ensure that we have the most ready, most capable military the world has ever seen.
González Colón thanked US President Donald Trump, as she said.
We thank President Trump and his administration for recognizing Puerto Rico's strategic importance to U.S. national security and for their fight against drug cartels and the narco-dictator Nicolás Maduro. We are the United States, border with the Caribbean.
The governor said the stepped-up fight against drug trafficking in the hemisphere underscores the strategic value of Puerto Rico's location. The Washington Post, quoting 2 US officials, reported that the Pentagon is weighing plans to make Puerto Rico a part of its operations in the region, possibly conducting military flights out of the island territory. The effort includes the possible deployment of fighter jets to the island, one of the officials said, confirming a detail reported earlier by Reuters. Hegseth also flew to the amphibious warship USS Iwo Jima, which is in the Caribbean as part of a buildup of warships in the region. He told assembled sailors and Marines that they were on the front lines of defending the American homeland.
How we doing, Warriors? I think this might be the single most beautiful picture I have ever seen in my entire life. Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power, on the front lines of defending the American homeland. Make no mistake about it. What you're doing right now, it's not training. This is the real world exercise on behalf of the vital national interests of the United States of America to end the poisoning of the American people.
Hegseth and Caine's visit, which was not announced by the Pentagon in advance, follows a deadly US military strike on what officials have said was a drug trafficking vessel carrying 11 purported terrorists, prompting criticism for an extrajudicial killing and a defiant defense of the move from Trump administration officials. The president last week signed an executive order stating that Department of War better suits his vision of peace through strength, citing US military successes under the name used from 1789 to 1947. The order granted Hegseth the additional secondary title of Secretary of War, an apparent concession to the fact that Congress must pass legislation to formally rename the department. Meanwhile, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro on September 8th said he had deployed 25,000 troops along the Caribbean coast and the border with Colombia amid soaring tensions with US President Donald Trump. In a message on the night of September 8th on social media, Maduro said he had deployed 25,000 men and women from our glorious National Bolivarian Armed Forces to the frontier with Colombia and the northeast coast, where the country's biggest oil refineries are situated. Maduro said that the deployment aimed to ensure the defense of national sovereignty, the security of the country, and the fight for peace. He did not expressly refer to Trump, who has cited the need to combat Venezuelan drug traffickers, particularly in ordering the biggest naval buildup in the Caribbean in years, but assured that he would secure his nation. Also, Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino Lopez said on September 8th that Venezuela was vigilant as the US scaled up its military presence in the southern Caribbean to combat drug trafficking.
Todo el despliegue.
All the deployment of destroyers targeting Venezuela, the use of drones, the use of helicopters on the decks of ships. We are observing all of this here from Venezuela. We are observing it because we are a people who are vigilant, alert, not frightened, not afraid. But we are on constant alert, watching for any situation that could affect our physical security and threaten our sovereignty. We are working hard to prepare the country. The greater the threat, the greater the preparation. The greater the threat, the greater the preparation.
Earlier, on September 5th, Maduro urged President Donald Trump to engage in dialogue to avoid conflict.
Venezuela is always ready for dialogue, but we demand respect. None of our differences justify a high-impact military conflict in South America.
The US military has assembled an armada of at least 8 warships in the Caribbean recently, a highly unusual concentration of combat power in a location where the US rarely surges military forces. Officials have described the effort as an enhanced counter-narcotics operation. At least one of those ships, the USS Jason Dunham, has made a port visit to the southern port of Ponce, Puerto Rico. The Trump administration has ordered the deployment of 10 F-35 fighter jets to a Puerto Rico airfield to conduct operations against drug cartels, sources told Reuters on September 5th. That deployment comes on top of an already bristling US military presence in the southern Caribbean, which the Trump administration says carries out a campaign pledge to crack down on groups funneling drugs into the United States. Ryan Berg, Director of the Americas Program and head of the Future of Venezuela initiative at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, told The Washington Post that Puerto Rico is the most obvious and nearest place to Venezuela, and its ports and airfields provide additional options for expanded military counter-narcotics operations. This administration has signaled for a while that there would be paradigm shift in how we do security operations in the Western Hemisphere, Berg said. With the strike last week, which the US executed under a 2001 authorization for the use of military force after Trump designated the cartels as terrorist organizations, they want to show it's not just rhetorical and show there's different rules of engagement with these organizations now, Berg said. The US military has used Puerto Rico for an array of missions in the past and maintained a headquarters there, Special Operations Command South, from 1999 to 2004. It was relocated to Homestead Air Reserve Base in southern Florida as the Pentagon closed an installation, Naval Station Roosevelt Roads, on the east side of the island. Other military installations on Puerto Rico include Fort Allen, a National Guard training center east of Ponce, near the southern coast, and Muñiz Air National Guard Base, just east of the capital San Juan. Trump has long accused Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro of narco-trafficking, allegations Caracas has always denied.